Going to talk now, of course, to Katie Amess. She's the daughter of Sir David Amess. Yesterday it was ruled that the government's Prevent scheme made a series of errors in its handling of the man who went on to murder the Conservative MP, Ali, convicted of Amess's murder in 2022. Katie's been pushing for answers from this government and answers about Prevent for a very long time. Katie, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, not at all. I know you've been working an awful lot in the last 24 hours or so. What are you making of what this report says? I mean, it's no great surprise, is it? But is anything going to actually come out of it that's going to be an improvement on things?
Well, Mike, I actually saw this report in March 2024, but was made to sign a contract to say that I wouldn't tell anybody what was in it. Otherwise, I would go to prison or be fined a lot of money. Yeah. So I was silenced. The report that was released yesterday, it's unfortunate to say it's not exactly the same report that I've seen, but obviously I can't tell you what's in the report that I've seen because I'm under contract.
Yes.
So I welcome the release of the report, and I'm glad that everybody can see how absolute nonsense this Prevent scheme is and the utter stupidity of it. However, this is a piece of paper. Not one person to do with the perpetrator was interviewed or to do with his interactions with Prevent and Channel. It was literally a paper exercise where they went through email trails and records that they had. Nobody was actively interviewed. So this is by no stretch of the imagination a substitute for an inquiry. And that is what I am still calling for.
Yeah, and they seem to be very mixed up, this government, about inquiries, don't they? Because they're going to have an inquiry into the Nottingham situation. They're talking about having one into Southport. Why won't they have one into what happened to your father?
Well, exactly. And I tried with the Conservative government. Now I'm trying with the Labour government. Nobody wants to do an inquiry into this. Nobody wants to touch it with a barge pole. And immediately after Southport happened, their Prevent Learning Review was released, and it was confirmed that they would have an inquiry, and rightly so. That is how government should react to these things. What is it in my father's case, 3.5 years later, that they don't want the public knowing? Because had Southport not have happened, they wouldn't have released this Prevent Learning Review. Right. We did that because I was made to sign the contract.
Yeah, because it's not as if it's one event. You know, there are several events now that all involve Prevent. And then surely at some point or other, I mean, I had Lord Carlisle on my show some weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and he was so pompous and ridiculous that in the end, you know, we ended up having a row because he was going, well, the thing about Prevent is it works very well. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, how can you say it works very well? He said, well, you don't see all of the successes. I know, and so many people have died and so many people have been put at risk. I mean, Michael Gove's family, Sarah Vine wrote about this yesterday, you know, his ex-wife, who said, you know, it terrifies me to think that he at some point or other may have stalked, you know, Michael Gove and my children and me, and it's only by the grace of God that they didn't get attacked. And it could have, you know, meant that he killed even more people. And the idea that some people in this establishment that we call our government and our sort of, you know, so-called, you know, managers of the country, just don't understand the reality of what they're seeing when they're looking at something and thinking it works.
No, and I mean, the inquiry that I'm calling for also needs to extend to Essex Police, because they had a threat the night before and they keep releasing these stupid canned responses about how the threat wasn't related. I'm not saying it was related. What I'm saying is you should have gone to his constituency surgery the next day and he wouldn't be dead, because the guy that did it has admitted that he went to other constituency surgeries with his weapon, saw police presence and turned around. So had they have had the decency to go, he would still be here. If you have an active threat to a member of public or to a politician, you better believe it should be your policy to send somebody to protect them. And they didn't do that. I've been waiting 7 weeks for somebody to get back to me regarding my complaint against them. Finally, I heard back from the IOPC. The letter was addressed to Mr. Amess, so I don't know if that's some kind of a sick joke, telling me that they weren't going to be doing an investigation, but they couldn't tell me why. So now I'm back with Essex Police, and if they think that they're going to just investigate themselves and find themselves not guilty, they have another thing coming. So I've told Cooper. She needs to be in on those meetings. Then she can see the utter stupidity that I am dealing with.
Yeah, Katie, listen, I salute your courage and your strength on this, and good luck with it. And we'll keep talking to you until we get something done. Thank you very much indeed, Katie Amess. Now you've got to go. Katie Amess, they're very, very sure that something really properly has to be done. Dan Jarvis, the Security Minister, said this yesterday. The reviewer found that from the material reviewed, the assessment in terms of the perpetrator's vulnerabilities was problematic, and this ultimately led to questionable decision-making and suboptimal handling of the case during the time he was engaged with Prevent and Channel. I'll make that easier for you and simpler for you, Dan Jarvis. Here's what you should have said. You should have said, Prevent is not fit for purpose, and we are shutting it down, and we are making sure that the people who are responsible for these oversights and letting these dangerous criminals kill vulnerable members of our society and anyone in our society should mean that this will never happen again. That's what Dan Jarvis should have said.